From mysterious swarms over New Jersey to unauthorized drones hovering over Langley Air Force Base and European military bases, including Ramstein, the skies are buzzing with drones. This is a global phenomenon. So, pilots, police, and civilians alike are reporting objects they can't explain. So, what's happening? Are we seeing advanced surveillance, hobbyist activity, or something beyond conventional technology? As a former F-16 pilot with 18 years of experience flying fighters, and after 4 years of investigating UAPs, I've seen enough to know that this isn't normal. Something's definitely going on, whether it's just increased sightings for sure, that we know for a fact, or if something else is going on behind the scenes. So today on LehtoFiles, we're breaking down where these sightings are happening, what officials are saying, and the biggest question of all is really who is behind them. Thanks for being here. Okay, we initially had reports over RAF Lakenheath, but it didn't really make mainstream news. I didn't really start paying attention to it until we started seeing a ton of reports like this coming from the Northeast, basically mysterious drones spread across New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. So they're seeing 50 plus drones coming over the ocean, alarming both civilians and local officials, but not the federal DHS. From Pequannock, New Jersey, you may have heard this. A drone crash landed into a backyard. So it made news. Is this some sort of crazy crash? Was it shot down? Local authorities identified it as a civilian drone, but this just added to growing fears. So you may have heard of the crash that happened on December 12th. They said it was just like a local toy drone. So again, the news is just going nuts. All right. And then you may have heard of the Boston airport incident. So this happened on December 16th, is when this was published, 2024. So in Boston, local police arrested 2 individuals for flying drones dangerously close to Logan International Airport, and a third suspect fled by boat. It's not just on the East Coast that they're actually seeing strange sightings in the sky. UAP sightings are going on maybe at an increased rate. Maybe that's why we're seeing all this activity, right? This is from Eugene, Oregon. You have pilot sightings. This happened December 7th. So commercial pilots flying over Eugene, Oregon reported red lights moving erratically at 50,000 feet. So performing extreme maneuvers beyond what you could do conventional drones. Listening to the recordings, they say it's a red light that's basically spinning in circles. So going very fast, spinning in circles. He says it can't be a satellite because it's moving so fast. And he actually says it was on their TCAS. TCAS is your collision avoidance system, and it really uses transponders, which is weird. So the FAA controllers said, yeah, we don't see anything in our radar. There's no military traffic going on. There was multiple commercial aircraft reporting this, but they saw it on transponders, which is weird. So something out there squawking on their transponders. I don't understand that. Is there some weird way that the aircraft could actually maybe pick up on weather radar or something that there's a transponder, or is there weird frequencies coming back from these UAPs? So something was out there, something was returning a squawk to these guys saying that they had some sort of aircraft on their TCAS. But again, I think that works on your transponder system. So it's super strange. But either way, the pilots saw it visually. They saw it with their eyes and said that there's these crazy lights moving up at 50,000 feet and higher than their aircraft up at 30,000 feet. So that's quite interesting. I'll have to cover that in another video. To add fuel to the fire, FBI and Homeland Security have said there's nothing to see here, right? I covered a video over the weekend. Department of Homeland Security Secretary said they haven't seen any sightings at all. There's nothing out there. People are just making this stuff up. Meanwhile, sheriffs on the ground, local Representative Smith, basically congressman from the local district, said that they have reports. One of their sheriffs saw 50 drones coming out over the ocean. They're tracking them at 1,000 feet. So they know these aren't aircraft, and they're large, sounds like car-sized drones. So these aren't your normal hobbyist drones, right? These could be up to $100,000 with long loiter times. So what have they done now? The FBI and Homeland Security have rolled out advanced drone detection systems, but they still remain vague, right? Their government statements are still super vague. They still claim many sightings are misidentified aircraft, but reports from military pilots and police really challenge that narrative, right? So there's definitely something going on, and huge disconnect between what the federal authorities are saying and what your local officials are saying on the ground. But the drone mystery isn't just limited to New Jersey and the East Coast or the West Coast of the US. Even this started over RAF Lakenheath, Mildenhall, and Feltwell in the UK. And you still have drone incursions, as we'll see, continuing today in Ramstein. And I've been told from military sources that they're going on in other locations as well that are not being reported in the news. So, November 23 of this year, 2024, so less than a month ago, basically started the whole drone craziness going on in the media. This was reported by BBC, and you had drone incursions going on for several days. I heard up to 17 days over Lakenheath, Mildenhall, and Feltwell, and those places where nuclear weapons were rumored to be moved to stored, and they have been stored in the past. So drones were observed over RAF Lakenheath, that's home to the U.S. Air Force's 48th Fighter Wing. Military officials are taking this as a significant security threat. They've made teams, and as you see in this article, U.S. air-based drone flyers will face force of the law. But so far as anything been done, we don't know. I mean, military bases are highly secure areas. Unauthorized drones here are either probing defenses, gathering intelligence. They all have their lights on, or like I said, they could be something else. Maybe we're actually seeing additional UAP phenomena like Foo Fighters in the past. And it's continuing still. Okay, this is from December 16, 2024. So Ramstein Air Base confirms unauthorized drone activity earlier this month. And like I said, from my sources, it's still continuing. So we're having continuous drone sightings over military bases, and it's not just going on in Ramstein. Also in Germany, reported in the local news as well, is that you had drone incursions over sensitive facilities as well. So where do we stand in who or what is responsible for these incidents? So first thing we know is, matter of fact, is we have a vast increase in reported sightings. So at least we know that, right? There have been an amazing increase in reported sightings across the US. So from the West Coast to the East Coast, especially in New Jersey and the surrounding states, vast increase in number of reported sightings. This also started in UK. So we've also had increased drone report sightings in the UK over particularly 3 critical military air bases. We've also seen increased reporting in military air bases on European mainland, so across Germany as well. At least Ramstein and I believe other military sites as well are seeing, at least we're getting a lot more drone reports. Okay, so the first thing is it's just a media frenzy, right? And misidentification. Kind of what they said back in the 50s, that the civilian populace is just has an overactive imagination and they're going outside and just seeing all these crazy things. DHS quoted, most drones are misidentified aircraft. So Department of Homeland Security, so federal agencies suggest that this is all media driven hysteria, right? Nothing to see here. Example like Project Blue Book. So civilians, pilots, and officials, they're all mistaking ordinary objects for drones. But does that really explain experienced pilots, such as in Eugene, Oregon? And what about the law enforcement in New Jersey, right? The 50 drones coming over the ocean. So I'd say this one, where it's just a media frenzy, is highly unlikely. You're definitely having something going on over the military bases over Europe. You definitely have something going on in New Jersey, and the pilots over on the West Coast saw something, right? So there's definitely something there. So I think the idea that it's just a media frenzy is not true, but there definitely is a lot of media attention. So then the second thing is could be foreign adversary operations, right? So could these drones be foreign reconnaissance? In Europe, it makes sense. It's plausible. I don't see why it would be Chinese drones, right? Why would the Chinese be over mainland Europe? But could it be Russian drones? Potentially, right? But that doesn't make sense in the Northeast US. So why fly over civilian areas? Why have your lights on? And why would US officials deny foreign involvement? So they keep saying that these are not foreign adversary drones and they're not US drones. So at least over the US, the West Coast sightings, and over New Jersey, it doesn't really make sense that it's foreign adversary operations, right? Why would they have their lights on? And then again, all the officials, federal officials, are saying that these aren't foreign adversaries. So that rules out number 2 as well. So then that brings us to the third option, right, that this is a mass hobbyist deployment. You basically have some sort of coordinated action by all these hobbyists to go out there. But FAA rules require PIDs, right? Positive identification of drones. So those are identifiers for all drones. If these were hobbyist drones, then law enforcement should be able to track them easily, right? They should have a device that can easily just track it like a transponder. This theory also fails to explain the pilot sightings on the West Coast. So, where those objects are described as far larger, up higher, 50,000 feet, 30,000 feet, etc., and moving in rapid circle movements. Also, it doesn't really describe all the RAF drone incursions, into restricted airspace. Shouldn't they be able to track where these things are coming from? At some point, shouldn't they be able to follow the drones? And they're able to use counter drone technology, right? They don't have any issue with advanced counter drone tech. That's what we saw at Langley Air Force Base in November 2023. So they have used, the military has reported using advanced counter drone tech, and that is not working. Okay, so this brings us to really the fourth and final option is, I think the most compelling, is we're seeing increased UAP activity and a government response to that activity. So the descriptions align with UAPs. You have advanced maneuvers, counter drone technology, right? They're not worried about counter drone technology and difficult to track these things to keep up with them. If you look at the pilot reports from Eugene, Oregon, they're basically up at high altitude, traveling in advanced maneuvers very fast, not satellites, and giving off weird energy emissions that are showing up on TCAS. If those are aircraft out there, then you have your radar from ATC should be able to paint something out there, should be able to paint an aircraft, but they're not. But they're showing up on TCAS. So you are getting weird energy emissions, which we have seen from UAPs. It's also weird there's no identification, right? Our sheriffs, Department of Homeland Security can't identify these things, can't track where they're coming from and where they're going, and yet they keep saying that there's no threat. It reminds back when the general said, yeah, there's no threat back in the 50s. A lot of these objects are also reported as car-sized drones, so that's going to rule out your random hobbyists. So the most compelling option for me is that these federal agencies are scrambling to understand what's flying in our skies. And they may be deploying our own drones, or you could have three-letter agencies deploying their own drones to muddy the waters or trying to identify what these UAP are. So I think it's actually a mix of increased UAPs combined with our own government response scrambling to try and figure out what's going on. But again, that's speculation. Okay, so what's happening? Well, we're definitely seeing a vast increase in actual reporting of unauthorized drones, right? You see above me in Ramstein, they're seeing it. Other bases across Europe, definitely seeing it in the UK, and we're seeing repeated drone reports. Definite increase, vast increase in drone reports all across the Northeast, as well as pilot reporting in the West Coast. So we are seeing a vast increase in reports of UAPs, unknown objects, UFOs, if you will, in the skies. They can't be identified. That is a fact. Okay, we're definitely seeing increase in reports. So for me, foreign adversaries could be possible in Europe. That seems likely with the war with Russia, but it doesn't make sense in New Jersey. It doesn't make sense on the West Coast. Your hobbyist drones don't fit the data, right? They're too advanced, they're too big, and they're operating in swarms. They should be identifiable. It's really strange that the federal agencies can't identify these drones at all. That seems really, really strange to me. I think everyone realizes that that's an issue. They can't identify these reports, right? And really, finally, that leaves us with a UAP connection. So I think something's going on with UAPs where they're seeing a government over response, trying to figure out what UAPs are, or we're seeing an increase in UAP reports, right? Maybe we're seeing an increase in UAP encounters, and we're seeing the government's response, trying to scramble and figure out what that is. I'm interviewing Courtney Brown this week. That'll be coming out on LehtoFiles, so be sure to like this video and subscribe. Let me know if you like the new vertical content. I think it was really fun to do. Actually, I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Please like and subscribe, and I'll keep you up to date on the drone story, as well as figuring out truth of the phenomenon. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.